Hi, this is Brendan Brooklyn. This is my reflective vlog. This is week 5 of my course. So we're covering the 16th to the 18th. It was an interesting week. It was kind of a carry on for last week, as I talked about last week. We're basically working on a big kind of report, and it kind of this week was just kind of finishing off and stuff like that. Just to kind of get into a couple of sort of things. I do have a new chair. I mentioned last week my chair broke. That led to some issues. I fixed it. Got a new chair. It's just relevant because that's a bit of problem solving. And overall, I think it was a decent week. We've done pretty well. I did have some issues. I'll go into when I get into the specific days. And just to preface this, just because kind of how this week worked, I've decided to divide it up to 2 days. Normally I divide it up into 3 days: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because the report kind of covered Thursday and Friday, and on Wednesday had a kind of project proposal, I thought just kind of cut it up into 2 sections. This won't be a weekly thing. This is going to be how these reflective vlogs work. Is whenever there's an opportunity to kind of, whenever it happens where I do a task over 2 days, with these bigger tasks that will happen, I'm just going to cover it over 2 days because there's no point. I think it's difficult to kind of comprehend what I've done and what day and stuff like that, to make it a bit easier. So let's get into the first day, and that was Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday is when we started working on the project proposal. So previous days, I think last week or the week before that, we had done the rationale and the evaluation. This day we've done the Harvard, Harvard reference kind of. This came from basically the Harvard reference was the 2 Harvard references from the last report in context, I think, and this report in research. I use a Google Doc just because there was about I think it was like 50, like a lot of things in there, so I thought it would be easier. So what we basically did today was a kind of schedule. So this is basically where we scheduled out. So for example, we'd only starting on week 1. So this is kind of where we start planning. We do a couple of weeks, 2 weeks of planning basically, then experimentation week, filming, editing, taking on peer feedback, and then second draft. So this is kind of the rest of how the course will work. Hopefully I'm going to follow this project proposal. Obviously it's not set in stone. If I do finish earlier, I won't go, oh, well, no, I'm meant to be starting next. I'll kind of roll the punches stuff like that, and obviously, you know, things will happen. You know, I can't predict the future. This is kind of just a rough kind of time scale, but this will change, and I'll update it with these reflectors as we go along. I'm not really going to go into pros and cons of this because I think this is actually really well written. I don't think there's really any cons. It's very simple. It's a very simple task. Basically just said, you know, the day, planning out and stuff like that. I will preface saying that I did do a bit of kind of reading between lines. I gave myself 2 weeks to film, just because there's a lot of filming and stuff like that. Filming has always been my biggest disadvantage. I think I talked about this in my reflective logs from the previous units and last year, that I always have problems with filming. I feel like I don't have enough time. So I give myself a solid 2 weeks to film. I think I can get done. I think I'll get done in a week, but it's good to have that extra time because I know my strengths line editing. I can get an edit quick done. I'm very quick at editing. I'm good at that kind of stuff. It's about 2 weeks to film. Not much really else to say about this. I'll just get into Thursday for Friday where I'll be talking about the report. I did do some report work on this day, Wednesday, but I thought it was easier to combine to kind of separate the sections. So let's get into the next day. That was Thursday, Friday for the report. Okay, so the report, as I mentioned last week, I didn't really get much of the report. I think I got some of that done, but I think I could have got more done. I finished up the report. As you can see, I wrote quite a bit more. Just kind of go into the kind of highlights of what I wrote. I looked at experimentation methods. I actually changed one of the methods. You might remember last week as I talked about in my video. Where is it? The technical aspect. I was going to do a color grading in camera and color grading in viewer, but I found that further kind of thinking about stuff like that, and also because I already had done the research into color grading for a previous unit, I thought that it wouldn't kind of be repeating myself, and I couldn't really find sources, and I thought the work I was producing was weak. So kind of last minute, I decided to change it to basically going with the audio effects, as I've talked about multiple times during this film. Audio is a big part of this film. Also because it's so music based and stuff like that, and so you know, there's a lot of music stuff like that, and it's very important. So I looked at basically 2 audio programs that I researched into. The first being Audacity, that is a free to use one, and the second to use is Audition, that is a program on Adobe. I basically went down it and looked at like what it is, what is the pros and cons, and then later on in the research and experimentation, I'll actually be doing these methods to kind of work out how best to do them. I thought this was pretty well written actually. I thought it was very kind of structured and stuff like that. Use a lot of sources. I really tried to do it, and as you can see from my research planner, so some research planner. I did finish up the research planner. As you can see, there's about 3 sources, roughly. Some are a bit more, some are a bit less, but 3 sources for everything. And as you can see, they're very kind of varied. Some of them obviously, I think obviously the visual effects, I'm not really finding any books on that, but you know, I really did try and vary it and stuff like that. And I'd obviously really hard questioned it. I'm also kind of hard questioned the questionnaire and the focus groups I'm doing it myself. But I thought it was very well written. A kind of another big highlight of this was the focus group. I conducted a focus group with my target demographic. I uploaded it separately. Here it is. It's kind of just I don't know, about 5 or 6 people. Basically, my target demographic is 18 kind of young adults. I decided to do it with those kind of people. And mostly what I done was, as you can see from the actual focus group video, I basically kind of pitched a rough of my idea and we just kind of chatted about it. I think it lasted about like sort of 8 minutes, just kind of chatting about it, kind of going over it and stuff like that. One of the biggest things I learned from the focus group is that a lot of people thought it would come off a bit too silly. So one of the biggest aspect being that I would play both the kind of voice in my head and you know, like the voice in my head and the like myself, and both the physical embodiments. So the biggest change I made was actually changing the voice in my head to be more just a voice. It's not going to have a physical embodiment. I think it saves better into the themes and stuff like that, and kind of makes it a bit more, goes into the drama of it. I think it'd be a bit too silly having 2 of me running around, especially as I've done it before multiple times. So that's one of the change. And because of that, that's a domino effect, is that, as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, the idea of the end of the film is going to be this big kind of fight between the 2 kind of physical beings, which would be helium fight. I've decided to cut this out and trying to bend my narrative. So what I'm going to do is basically, I've added a new section that I'm calling the, I haven't worked out a name for, but basically it's going to basically be more of an argument and kind of emotional thing. I feel like this is a lot better. I think a fight would just be too silly, and also for a Patrick would really that would pay the film. So that's kind of thing going to it. And because of that kind of idea, I'm thinking of maybe, and also because a lot of people, as I want to talk about it, was people didn't really like the kind of alternate endings. Is I'm thinking of combining the alternate endings. I feel like it would be better go with the themes I'm doing now. That it's not a physical embodiment and not really a fight. I had to kind of change the alternate endings. So basically, what I'm going to do is kind of combine the endings. So you won't have kill or like kill or what's the other option? Let go. Instead, it'd be one kind of ending that kind of thematically takes in both of the things. So basically, I'll be taking the elements from the Q ending, where it's very existential and stuff like that, are you happy? And then kind of the imagery of the let go, like, you know, the happy ending, and kind of combining together. So overall, I think the focus group was the best part of it. This goes into the main quote of the day of this kind of essay, is that I've been able to change. I think the biggest thing with this focus group is that I took on feedback. I didn't just go, I want to make this film this way. I took it on, and I really think it's going to be much better now. I think my biggest kind of strive is I think in my mind it got a bit too silly, a bit too kind of memey and kind of silly with me, 2 of me fighting and stuff like that. Whereas this kind of more plays into the drama and the kind of themes of the movie better. I think it really helps the focus group. And also that's had the knock-on effect of I've had to think about how does that affect the rest of the film if you change that element, and you know, obviously the helium fight, and you start going into how it better to improve the film. So it's not, you know, I haven't just given up and then gone, oh, there'll come a physical embodiment at the end. I've kind of changed the film to better suit the narrative and better suit the themes of the film. So that's been cool. A con, and this is kind of a constant con I have throughout my work, is that there is a lot of spelling. I'm not the best at spelling, just because I think I kind of dyslexia, so I'm spelling is a big part. And I think especially with this work, it is a big con. I'll admit that some of the spelling isn't very good. And it's something I really need to work on, and that's something I'm going to go into the target that I'll have, that I'll in the section. But overall, I thought this report was really well done. As you can see, it's a big report. It was 24 pages, 3 of the pages are Harvard referencing. But I really like it. It's very detailed. It's very it really allowed me to kind of work out what I want to do with this film and really kind of nailed it down. So overall, I think the report's really well. Let's go into the kind of overall wrap up. Okay, so this is the overall wrap up of this week. So last week, my kind of goal for that week was to last week, my goal of that week was to kind of finish up the contextual report. As see, I've got this done for that, and to add more sourcing, as you can see from my research planner, it is very much fully kind of sourced. It's all kind of neat and stuff like that. So I would say that was kind of our main. I said I'm pretty well. I think I met that target. And then on the target review, I think my next week's target is during the planning. Obviously, especially during the script page, is to kind of improve my spelling. And I think I'm going to do this by kind of spell checking, using programs to spell check, and really kind of getting maybe a second person to read it. Because I do have problems where I read it one way and other people, the actual way to read it is spelled wrong. So I'll probably get someone to read over it, stuff like that. I'm just getting kind of the pros and cons this week. I say pro is my, I'm very good at kind of dealing with issues and kind of being able to change and stuff like that. The biggest example of this being is the focus group. Some people thought that some of my ideas were a bit too silly and stuff like that. We really overall liked the idea, but some people thought it was a bit too silly. Instead of just going, I'm going to do my idea, I basically took that and went, okay, how can I change that? And I really kind of went with that and really trying to evolve my film. And I think it's gone from a silly little student film to something that's actually meaningful and stuff like that. So I certainly main advantage is that it's kind of being able to change stuff like that. And obviously this is permanent in the proposal with the kind of scheduling that I was able to kind of, deal with like this new schedule and be able to kind of bend it to my will, we only got 4 weeks of experimentation and filming and editing. I kind of went, okay, I need 2 weeks filming because I understand my limits. So that's another thing I've done well, is I kind of understand my limits. On the other side, I think the biggest problem this week is, if I was kind of point out one, and this connects to the target, it's the spelling. I think my spelling is not very good. This kind of, you can see it probably throughout my website, the kind of work I do, that my spelling isn't the best. It's something I really want to work on, and that's why I've kind of set myself that target of sorting out my spelling, things like that, and really try nailing that down. So also just going into another thing, so like last week, my reflective logs will always have a different thing picture. This week, last week one was a nightmare. I really like just messing around with the effects, to be honest, so this is a fun thing I'm doing. So overall, I would say this will be a bit of a short reflective log, just because there's not really much to talk about, to be honest. Just kind of go over things. I've kind of gone over it. Oh, quick thing. I did have some motivation issues. I think motivation issues are come out throughout it. This was a big report. This was a massive report, and I'm not the best at I'm not the best at writing reports and stuff like that. And I do find writing sometimes you just have to be in a really different zone to do it. And I'll be honest, I did get this work done a bit later than I did do yesterday, Saturday and Sunday. I did actually do extra on it just because I didn't think it was enough and stuff like that. I did get done. I got done by the deadline. That is actually today. I was finishing Reflective now, doing things a bit last minute, but I did kind of have a lot of motivation issues. And what I found is it's sometimes better just to take a break. I decided to take a break kind of half a Saturday, so that's a pretty easy Saturday. If you could take a bit, I think it's good to have the break and stuff like that. And I think that's going to my problem solving is I'm going to try and take more breaks and stuff like that to kind of break up the work because I don't want to be stressed out this and stuff like that. So overall, that has been my reflective log. I think it was a decent week, and I'm looking forward to next week where we actually get into the planning and kind of actually building this film. Thank you for watching.